What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Spencer, and I'm doing the second time I think I've done this video format, and that is top 5 cards that desperately need a reprint. Now, in the first episode, I think only 2 of those cards were actually reprinted. That one of them being Appaloosa, which is extremely affordable now. It's $5. They went above and beyond. I said it just should be $20, but hey, I'll take it. The gold rare printing, and even the Megatin version, I think, is only like $10. So if you're a fan of the original artwork, you can definitely go do that. I bought the gold rare version. That's just me, which is really cool. The other one I said was Infinite Impermanence, which technically did get a reprint in the Maximum Gold set as well. But that card's still $20, so it's gonna have to be in a structure deck for it to be anywhere near affordable for everybody to use. Kevin actually pulled one in his second opening because we did the first one together on the channel, and then he had bought another box of it, and he got the Infinite Impermanence, which was really cool. So maybe it'll drive down in price over every once in a while, because I mean he pulled it and we only opened up 2, which is pretty shows that it's pretty available. It's just so popular that I guess it's going to keep its value. Kind of similar to like Effect Veiler, it'll never go below $1. Other than that, the other cards on that list I've yet to see a reprint. And normally on this I'll show you expensive cards, like just pretty much the top expensive cards, and I will do that, but in this episode too, I'm also going to show a card that isn't like $80. It's kind of one I think just needs a reprint, and I'll tell you guys why when it gets to it. But as you guys can see on the screen here, it's Magician Souls. No reason for this. I mean, this was made expensive because of how how short printed it was, in addition to Spiral. At the time, I think Spiral was super popular, and this is a strategy that really brought it to the next level. It's using Eldritch too, and that's definitely good. But this is a Dark Magician card. This is a staple 3 of in any Dark Magician deck. It's like, I don't know what this should be. Is either it should have been in the Maximum Gold set or the Megatins. Those were 2 perfect opportunities to do so, and they definitely did not do that. This needs a common printing. It could go in. It could have been in probably the Charmer structure deck, which is a bunch of spellcaster monsters. But I think Konami's kind of covering their eyes, being like, "Oh, this is still a Dark Magician card, so we have to wait for some sort of Dark Magician based set for this to be available," which is totally bogus. There's so many strategies that could use a card like this. I don't know what they're waiting for. This should not be an $80 card. It isn't even the best card of all time. If it gets Ash Blossomed or Infinite Impermanence, you just go straight neg 2 unless you're playing Eldritch. So come on, Konami, what are you waiting for? Let's get this card out there. Let's get this to the people, especially me. Obviously, I would like a copy of this card. This one really annoys me, as you guys see on the screen here. It is Triple Tactical Talents, and I know it just came out. In my opinion, this is not how the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Should be structured, where basically all of the top strategies we just saw, no one really knew how popular it was going to be necessarily, but it had such a major impact on these competitive events. Everyone's going to be using it. Obviously, in the online scene, you don't have to pay any money for these cards, but in in-person ones, your opponent, if they do have the money, is going to have a major advantage of you. And to an extent, this is a bit of a pay-to-win game. I'm a little reluctant to say that like all the way, but if you can't afford this card and your opponent has it, it could be the reason you lose the duel, and you probably would have played it too if you had the chance, but obviously you can't now. So when I was saying about the structure, I don't feel like staple side decking cards should be this expensive. The more expensive cards should be collectors, like the Starlight Utopia that was like $900 or something ridiculous like that, or the Hayate or something. It's not. No, I'm thinking of Sky Strikers, but it's the Link monster that lets you special summon a fire monster from your opponent's graveyard, which is basically Ash, which was like popular for a while, and it just got like a super big printing in Phantom Rage. That's what the really expensive. That's what should be the $500 card should be. Not this. Not a card that everybody wants to have. Is it reasonable to expect us as players to spend $300 on 3 cards that you might side out going into game 2? You guys will have to let me know down in the comments if you agree with me. That's not how I think Yu-Gi-Oh! Should be structured. I don't mind paying maybe this. I think that's too expensive, but I could at least see this. Like, what if it was like Thunder Dragon Colossus or something, like, or a Dragoon, which you only play one of, which is a little more affordable. I think the $34 mark or the $35 mark for Dragoon is completely reasonable. It's a boss monster. You're only going to play one of it. You're definitely willing, because of how much value you get out of it, you're definitely going to be willing to spend that $35. But for this, it's not like that. You have to run 3 of these if you're going to use it. You wouldn't run this at 1. So let's get this reprinted. Let's not be stupid about it. Let's not, even $30 is too much. This should be a $10 card at most. That's just my opinion on the matter. Moving on to number 3, another, not a staple second card, but still I think it's ridiculous that all of these powerful cards, like Nibiru was very affordable when it came out. Like that was kind of the draw to it. And Dark World No More to an extent, and now it came out in a structure deck, so it's just like $3 now, which is great. Where is this coming from? And why is this here? Why is it necessary? It's not, first of all. Not all the strategies are going to use this, but let's not let this be turn into an elitist game. Like, let's not structure these sets, and they did it a little bit. Zeus is affordable even a little bit. I think there were 2 printings in the same set. Unfortunately, it's like Alpha card or something like that, the Pankratops replacer for the most part. That card's like $80. So again, I think they're continuing this trend. It's not one that I like. I don't think it's a good business practice. And Forbidden Droplets is another one. Can't be responded to type of thing. So if your opponent has it, it's just going to be a major advantage over you. And I know the idea is like just buy it or something like that, but we're not all like that. We're in the middle of a pandemic where spending $300 on a side decking card is not within our budgets. And I think that's completely reasonable to say, and completely reasonable to expect the average person not to be able to do so as well. I think if you can spend $200 on your complete deck and it can be viable, I think that's may seem really expensive to some people, and it is, but I would say if I'm willing to invest in a game and invest in a deck, $200 is fine. You're not going to build a deck now if you have this, especially if you want to run triple tactical talents and this in the same deck. You're talking about $600 alone just like that. That's too much for me, for my taste. Makes the game much less accessible. And in very similar fashion, we could talk about Access Code Talker 2, which is, it's game changing. It's a game changing card. It can't be responded to. It's a board wipe. Better than Boral Sword Dragon, which I know there's a little bit of debate on that because, Boral Sword is a game ender, and this is basically, I know if your opponent like has destruction protection, then it's not as good. But we're talking about matchups like back row decks. Like if you're playing Ultrageist and you get this bad boy out there, they're done. And the fact that card's not accessible to the masses, they did this with Boral Sword. They made it, for a while it was very expensive, but they got on that pretty quickly from what I remember. I remember it was out for a few months and it was not accessible. Then it comes out in the Megatins. This is a card you put in the Megatins. This is a card you reprint in a gold rare. I know I guess they just didn't want to pack the set as much with all these great cards because they didn't want to make too good of a set, because they obviously they are a business at the end of the day, so that's understandable. So some of these I can understand, but definitely not all of them. I don't think people buy more sets. I think it actually discourages people when the chase cards of the set are only available if you buy cases, and who just has $600 laying around to buy a case of Yu-Gi-Oh cards. Surely, obviously the people who are all the way invested in the competitive scene, yeah, I mean, that's true. But what about the guy who goes to locals like me, who has never been to a competitive event, who would like to at least have a chance? And Access Code Talker is a staple in my ABC deck, and it has stolen me so many wins that I definitely will not be able to use this in my deck, going forward, especially when Paper Yu-Gi-Oh comes back. That's just my opinion on that as well. And like I said, not all of these are going to be like in the $70, $80 range. And this is another Dark Magician card. That set was horribly structured. I should not be spending $30 on a staple 3 of. It's not like this card is like a Dragoon that's ultra powerful. It's good. It's for sure good. But if anyone wants to play Dark Magician, should they have to spend $200 on a deck that will never win you in any competitive event or even help you top? You'll never get close. How is that fair? How is that your objective? And I think the idea is the same with heroes. I think hero decks are extremely expensive, and I don't get that either. Maybe you think that players who are chasing these cards will buy more product. When I found the ratios and stuff, I stayed far away from it. I'm like, and I'm not gonna buy this. It's just deep in my heart, I just don't feel like it's worth it. Now I'll spend $30 on a staple 3 of card that I think has a chance to be rogue. I would pay If Cyber Dragon or Cyber Repair Plan or Cyber Emergency was $10 each, I would do that because I think that's impactful enough to maybe get me at a top 8 before I get washed by one of the meta decks. Not Soul Servant. So let me know what you guys think in the comments down below about all of this. What are some cards that you think should be reprinted? Maybe there's more. I just know a lot about Dark Conditions because I play them a lot. What kind of in-archetype stuff are you guys upset about that you do have to spend around the $30 mark for a staple 3 of that should be nowhere near as expensive? But other than that, guys, it's going to do it for today's video, and I hope you have an absolutely wonderful night.